Hello, class professor. My name is Nathan Sexton, and welcome to Lab 5, latent heat. So, this week, I didn't feel like everybody wanted to sit there and watch me freeze water or wait for water to come up to a boil. So, I'm going to go through, show some of the stuff needed, describe it all, and then I'm going to kind of break down into some of the stuff that was in our lab workbook. I completed the experiment earlier. We're going to go from there. Alright, so the necessary things we're going to need for this is a freezer. We got a pot right here, stove top, which is in my kitchen. Water, 250 milliliter beaker, which we have over here. A transfer pipette, plastic test tube, and our handy dandy thermometer. Alright, so breaking it down for experiment 1, it's broken down into 2 parts, freezing water and boiling water, and we're determining the temperature of water during its solid state and when it is boiling. So for the freezing water portion, we're using this pipette over here. Let me find it again. And we're going to use it to fill 1.5 milliliters into this test tube here. Everything's kind of dry, cleaned up afterwards, just my nature. And then we're going to move the temperature mark on the thermometer, which is here. Here's your little marker. We're going to move it to negative 10 degrees Celsius. The thermometer goes inside the test tube, and the mark is going to be at the very top so that everything kind of stays in place. And then from there, everything is going to go dandy beaker, and then it's going to sit for 1 hour, and it's going to be allowed to freeze at least -5. So went through, let everything drop, then it's going to come out of the freezer and then go through everything in table 2, and then repeat step 6 where it's brought out every 5 minutes for 30 minutes. For the boiling water part, we're filling away. We're going to place and hold the thermometer in the center, and that's what we as I did earlier. And then turn the stove on, let the water come to a boil. Used a handy dandy oven mitt for it. And when the water begins to boil, wait 1 minute and record the temperature, and then after 5 minutes, go through again. So the biggest thing about this lab, because it is so simple, is I think it'd be a good idea to go into some of the questions as far as it goes. Mainly when it comes through, first off, I'll explain some of my actual results. So started out at -8, where everything's in a solid state. It's in ice. By the end, all the ice is gone and the water's melted. We got about 2 degrees Celsius in the middle at the 15-minute point, where everything's starting to change from ice to water. And for our second part, the 1 and 5 minute point, we had 98 and 97. So we'll get to the first part and explain why those things are important, and then I'll break down the second part. So when the temperature of the water, it didn't change as the ice began melting. And the reason for this is the latent heat energy is released into the phase change, and it's not into the water. What ends up happening is the particles that are involved, the kinetic particles, the speed of them don't increase, but the energies, all the latent energy is transferred in order to go through the phase change, which means we're not going to have that rise or dip in temperature until the actual phase change is complete. So again, I got 97, 98. When I was going through the post lab, it's 100 degrees. That could be just operator error. I wasn't wearing my glasses, it wasn't close enough, or the water wasn't at a complete boil. But it maintained a very routine and constant temperature across. So the reason a temperature doesn't change during a phase change, which is what this lab's all about, is because the energy that's involved, the latent heat energy, is used to break the bonds that initiate a phase change either from ice to water or water to steam, which occurs at 100 degrees. And so what ends up happening is the energy of the particles doesn't increase, so the temperature doesn't rise, and this energy goes through to initiate the phase change. This was a fun lab. It took a little bit longer to do. It took me a good hour and 45 minutes or so going through, kind of experimenting, playing around with everything. But I didn't think everybody wanted to see me go through and boil water. But as I was saying, I look forward to seeing everyone else's results. And this is a really fun lab, and I think it really illustrates latent heat very, very well. And I'll see you in the next lab.